Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. It's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. I'm going to be real quick here because, well, not real quick. I'm just going to tell you really quickly that you might hear some banging and some zzz because we've got some construction going on, and I apologize in advance. I have to keep working to make that money despite my house being completely torn apart. Anyways, so the Emmys, not only was Farrah Abraham at the Emmys, but there was actually like real actors and actresses there and individuals part of the entertainment community that had been nominated for their work, whether as actors, actresses, supporting actors, supporting actresses, for TV shows, for docu-series, for limited docu-series, for reality television. All of that was up. And one thing that took place was that two individuals that were part of the Hulu's limited series, The Act, which depicted a dramatized version of Gypsy Blancharde's story and the death or the murder of Dee Dee Blanchard. The main characters of the show, or of the limited series, Patricia Arquette, who played Dee Dee Blanchard, and Joey King, who played Gypsy Rose, were nominated for Emmys for their work on the series. Now, the night went off without a hitch, and Patricia Arquette walked away with a win for her role depicting Dee Dee Blanchard. During her acceptance speech, she was extremely raw and vulnerable and broke down because her sister, Alexis Arquette, recently passed away. Well, not so recently. I think it's been maybe in the last year or so, maybe 2 years ago. I believe, I don't remember how she died. I think it was a drug overdose. I'm not sure, though. I don't want to speculate, so I won't speculate. I don't know. Patricia Arquette, Alexis Arquette, who was a transgender woman, passed away unexpectedly. Something, I don't remember. Anyways, if you remember what she passed away from, please let me know. But anyway, Patricia has been grieving that loss and has had a whirlwind of a few years with having some of the biggest roles of her lifetime, or so she says. And she broke down in tears and used her moment in her monumental win, or her fantastic win for her Emmy, to speak to individuals about being kinder and creating a world that is kinder to individuals that are transgender. So, Patricia Arquette is also 51 years old, so she noted during her speech that it was amazing that she is continuing to get such fantastic roles as a woman in her 50s. Patricia has been around forever. She has won Oscars. She has won Emmys. She is a phenomenal actress. So she won for hers as a supporting actress, but Joey King was snubbed. So she did not win for her nomination as a Best Leading Actress. So I reached out to the Blanchard family to find out what their take on it, and I spoke with Gypsy Blancharde, the stepmother of Gypsy, and she said that they watched the Emmys and they were so excited and say congratulations to Patricia Arquette, and are so sad and so bummed that Joey King did not win because they thought she did an amazing job in her role playing Gypsy on The Act. Now, there was some confusion leading up to the Emmys related to a story that was released by TMZ, and it was released shortly after the Emmy nominations. Christy told me that Gypsy would love to meet both Patricia and Joey and just talk with them and, have them see a little bit more of her. And the family said that they would also love to meet them if they're interested. And they said when they were looking up information and sort of reading about the Emmys and getting some more information, they found a story that said that Gypsy didn't want to meet Joey King and that she had no interest in moving forward. In fact, I found the story and I'll show you. So back in April when it was announced, this was actually on TMZ. It says, Gypsy Rose to Joey King, congrats on your Emmy nom, but we're not ever going to meet. And then they ended up quoting Fancy Miceli, who was previously listed as, or working with the family on, as a spokesperson. But at this time when this was out, I think this was out in July, this was right at the same time that Gypsy was separating from Fancy, so we're not sure where she got this, but Fancy told TMZ, Gypsy sincerely congratulates Joey for nailing the role and mastering her look, voice, and mannerisms. That being said, Gypsy has zero interest in meeting Joey following the Emmy nom because Gypsy is adamant the storyline in Hulu's limited series is inaccurate, and by meeting her, it would validate the series narrative. What's more, Gypsy, who was forced to pretend to be disabled for years and wanted to escape her mother's medical abuse, wants to put this ugly episode behind her. Gypsy says she has nothing to gain by meeting with Joey. As for the inaccuracies in the act, Gypsy claims the repeated sex scenes in the series is not a true depiction of her life, and it was dramatized to make her seem like a nympho. And she also takes issue with the series on how they showed Dee Dee tying her to the bed and holding her hostage. She said it only happened once after she tried to escape. So there was some issues with, and this is sort of how the family ended up splitting up from initially they were working with Michelle Dean, who was the writer, and actually the first to break Gypsy Rose's story. She worked at the time for BuzzFeed, and after that she wrote the act, and the family had initially been working with Michelle Dean on the act, but they eventually parted ways with Michelle, and due to some discrepancies and just some philosophical differences on where the sort of story was going. And after now this is my take on it, not necessarily like what I know to be true, but from my understanding of what was depicted in the act, I did not watch it, there was a lot more physical abuse that took place. And in the case of what happened to Gypsy, there wasn't as much physical abuse as what happened in the act. And I think that it might have been done this way, and I have no idea, but maybe they wanted to add more of that for dramatic flair, because a lot of what happens with cases of factitious disorder imposed upon another is that it's very psychological and emotional and mental abuse that happens, not necessarily always physical. The physical abuse takes place more commonly in the medical procedures or forcing an illness on someone. So it's not as dramatic or as, in your face type of abuse. It's a lot more psychological, which can be more challenging to write. It's a lot easier for a writer to show you physical events versus like psychological events. So that was just my impression. Maybe that's why she did it. I don't know why. That's just my assumption. So there was those inaccuracies, and the story itself, I think from my understanding from the family, is that there was already so much in there. There was no need to really make it up. But at the end of the day, they were really, they said that Patricia and Joey did phenomenal in their roles as Dee Dee and as Gypsy. And so hopefully this will just be more great opportunities for both these actresses. The family was really happy to see that their hard work had taken place, and hopefully the actresses will be interested in meeting with the family. So that's what we have there. Now, the other thing is there's going to be an interview coming up on a channel called the Great Debate Community, and it's going to be with Fancy Miceli, who formerly is the woman that was connected to Gypsy's family, and was going to be putting together a by proxy series on Gypsy Rose and the case of Gypsy and Nicholas and the murder of Dee Dee. So this channel is going to be interviewing her and is apparently going to be talking about me and what a crappy person I am, and going through all sort of mistruths about the family, and then going over aspects of the case. And The family did not ask me to make this statement. I did let Christy know that this interview was going to be taking place, and I'll say she wasn't happy. But I want to reiterate something, is that if you are planning to watch this show and if you see it on your timeline or if it's popped up as a notification, please know that Fancy has not been connected to this family for over a month. Gypsy separated her ties with Fancy in July. Christy parted ways with Fancy shortly thereafter, and they parted ways because Fancy was being untruthful to them about a number of different aspects and lying about different things. And as they found more information about her background, they became more and more uncomfortable working with her. She was also, as previously described, giving interviews to the media without talking at all to the family and saying things like what they said in TMZ's interview that were not approved by Gypsy. So Gypsy publicly broke ties, had the email shared. I shared the emails that she wrote to Fancy in a previous email or in a previous video. But at this point in time, there's literally nobody that is connected. Almost this entire project, the By Proxy series, isn't going to happen as far as I understand. They've pitched it to a number of different networks, but most of the networks don't want to work with Fancy. She doesn't have the best background. She's got a lot of fraud or alleged fraud and evictions and such in her background. And so there's just been a lot of turmoil here, along with very unprofessional behavior. And as more and more information has been leaked out, there's now a group that's sort of dissecting all the tea related to by proxy, and I'm going to be watching some of that to find out more. But if you plan to watch that, all I'm saying is that do not trust a word that comes out of Fancy's mouth. She is not connected to this family. There's not a conspiracy here. Fancy's newest thing is now that Dee Dee somehow has conned everyone, and everyone was underneath Dee Dee's skin, or Dee Dee got underneath everyone's skin, and somehow she's manipulated everyone, and so everyone's a victim of Dee Dee. Her story changes. She's trying to create some sort of like conspiracy about how this crime happened that didn't happen, saying it's not what we think it is. But in all honesty, the story is exactly what we think it is. It's as been presented. And at this point, Gypsy and the family just want to move on. They don't want another series out there. Gypsy's fiance Ken doesn't want another. I mean, he's in agreement with Gypsy that, like, why do another series? It's completely unnecessary. What else is there left to say? And the family just wants to move on, and they want to move forward. And they don't want to have to continue to deal with this woman who is consistently out in the media trying to smear them and say nasty things about them. And again, none of that came from the family. That's just like what my sort of overview of all of this is that this woman is just riding the coattails of this family to get interest. And unfortunately, people are still talking to her because of what she's telling them, under the assumption that she's somehow connected to this family. So please remember that this family is not at all connected to Mad Ginger Entertainment by Proxy Productions or Fancy Miceli, aka April Johns. So we'll keep you posted on how all of this goes together. But if you see that video, I think it's on the Great Debate community. I think they're doing it today. If you want to pop over there and tell them that they're full of CRAP, I wouldn't hate you for it, but don't attack them. Please don't say anything nasty to them. I really, I don't know that he even knows what's going on with this. I will say that the person that's hosting this channel has been someone that I have had some disagreements with in the past. I did a video about him a couple days ago apologizing for something I said about him, but I'm still not like friends with him, let's just say. So moving forward, anything that you see from this channel, the Great Debates channel, or from his single channel, the Steve McRae channel, take it with a grain of salt. This is not someone I know very well, and he has been spreading a lot of misinformation about me over the last few months. So I wish him the best, and I really hope that he'll stop this campaign against me, as I will have really nothing against him at this point. I just would like to move on with my life. All right, you guys, I will be back later, and let me know if you watch the email, or if you watch the show with Fancy, and if it's as ridiculous as I think it's going to be. I will be waiting on bated breath. Bye, guys.